Welcome back to the channel. My name is Jake, and today we're going over how to fish the wacky rig. The wacky rig is quite possibly my favorite lure. I have caught the majority of my fish that are over 2.5 pounds on this lure. I caught 3 spotted bass that were probably all either over or close to 2 pounds yesterday. I'll put some pictures up of those. I caught a 3-pounder on the channel like 2 weeks ago on a wacky rig. This is one of the best baits of all time, and I'm going to show you exactly how to fish it, when to fish it, and where to fish it. Let's get into it. The first question many people ask about fishing the wacky rig is, how do you fish the wacky rig? How do you work it? Well, it's actually a lot simpler than most people might make it, so don't make it too complicated. Just throw it out, let it sink, and bounce it, just like a Texas rig, but a little bit easier. When you throw the wacky rig out, you're gonna wanna let it sink for a while. And if you know the exact depth of where you're fishing, I would let it sink all the way down right above the bottom and then just give it a pop. What this does is it'll stop it from hitting the floor, but it'll keep it right at that bottom level where it's in fish's face. The wacky rig is one of those lures where you can work continuously before reeling it in. It's not really gonna come towards you if you're just popping it and occasionally reeling it. It will over time, but it'll be a lot slower than something like a Texas rig or a shaky head. A wacky rig, you can sit there and just pop it over and over again in the same spot until a fish comes by or a fish eats it. All right, let's talk about where to fish the wacky rig. The best place to fish the wacky rig is in shallow, covered water. Shaded water that might be under a tree like this, might have a bridge right there to be under for fish. There's a kayak right there, and of course there's a dock right there. If you can skip your lure into these spots, you will have a very good chance of catching a fish that is hiding in the shade. So if I'm looking right here and I don't automatically see fish off the bat, I would probably not throw it straight out. I'd probably try and throw it under the bridge or close to the kayak, because that is the shade line where fish will be sitting. But since I know the exact depth of this spot, I will throw it close to straight out because I know how deep it is there, and fish like to sit on that drop off. If you know there's a drop off, you can throw it on the drop off. You can also throw it up real shallow like I just did into about a foot of water. Any fish that are right at the shoreline will most likely eat it. Another thing I want to talk about real quick is what hook you should use to rig it. This is a 1/0 EWG hook, which will work, but the #1 best hook to use for a wacky rig will be a 1/0 circle hook. You want a smaller hook so it's easier to spit when the fish jump out of the water or when they thrash around. You do not want a big 3/0 or 2/0 EWG. The biggest I'd go is probably a 1/0 EWG like this, which will work just fine. Another amazing thing about the wacky rig is it's one of the greatest lures of all time. Oh, whoa, just got a little bite. It's one of the greatest lures of all time to fish if you're a bank fisherman, because you can throw it parallel to the shore into those shade lines we were just talking about. One of the biggest things you have to worry about when fishing a wacky rig is the possibility of snags. The wacky rig is a really good lure to throw into those spots that most other fishermen aren't getting to, which naturally comes with the chance of snags and getting hung and losing your lure. I just lost about 5 senkos yesterday in the span of an hour, so you have to be careful with where you're casting, or you have to be willing to spend money and rebuy it. All right guys, this looks like another really good spot to fish a wacky rig because of the shade, and I know how shallow it is. It's right next to a dock that I know is heavily trafficked, so I'm trying to send it into these spots right where there is a drop off and the water gets a little bit darker from the shoreline. Another technique that could be very valuable to learn, which I did touch on at the start of the video, could be skipping. I'm not very good at skipping. I don't really know if there's any technique that even, is involved in it, but if you can get your lure under docks, places where other fishermen are not generally going to be able to get to, it is very, very powerful and effective. And of course, the best time of the year to fish for bass at all, really, but especially this lure, is definitely going to be spring, spawn. That's how I caught my PB. I just saw him on a bed, and it was almost like cheating, I just kind of sight fished him, just really up close. I really love fishing the wacky in only a couple feet of water or under overhanging trees or into brush piles. It is just so effective, and I think the wacky rig is fairly rated, but I feel like it's not talked about enough. It is just such a good lure. Another question people might ask are what are some of the best colors to use? I'd say, especially for a beginner, but really for anybody, the only two colors you need are black and blue, and then like a green pumpkin of some sorts, and then just build off of colors that look close to that. Like there's a color that looks really similar to black and blue that I catch a lot of my bass on, that's called June bug. This is black and blue what I'm using right now, but June bug, just, it looks, you know, they're almost identical. But yeah, I'd get black and blue and then green pumpkin to start, and just build off of lures that look very similar to those, because those are two of the main colors that you're trying to imitate, you know, whether it be a bait fish or you know, whatever. But main reasons you would get those two colors out of anything is because green is for daytime. It creates an actual color, possibly resembling a bait fish or something of that matter. And then black and blue is for, you know, in the shadows and shallows, and when it's dark, for just creating a silhouette, right? So both of them have their uses. And you might ask me, well, why are you fishing black and blue in broad daylight? Well, I'm throwing towards docks and in shallow areas, so that's the reason I'm doing that. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. I hope y'all learned something. If you did, give it a like and a subscribe. And yeah, I will see y'all soon. God bless.